Hello, everybody. Welcome to this first exclusive interview with head coach Stuart Baxter, who's recently taken over at Odisha FC. All of us are delighted to have him on board. He's extremely experienced, and that's an understatement, having worked in different countries and different leagues across the world. First of all, a very warm welcome to you, Stuart. Delighted to have you with us.
Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be here.
So as you know, Stuart, your signing has gotten a lot of people in Odisha excited. There have been a lot of questions that have been sent to us from across the top publications locally and in the country. And I think one of the things which people are really looking forward to is, and again, I have to repeat this, is the amount of experience that you bring, having worked with the England under-19 team, with the Finland national team, with the South African national team, plus some of the top clubs you worked at and the leagues you won in Japan and in South Africa. All that experience, and that brings me to my first question. It is from the Indian Super League digital team. And the question is, how do you think all that experience that you have will benefit the young players that we have at Odisha FC?
Well, I think when you're talking about experience, one of the things that I've experienced in my developments as a coach is that the more challenges you have, the different nature of the challenges, and which has been for me working in different countries with different cultures, with different ideas of how to play the game, it just equips you with the more keys to open the boxes. And I think the younger players, when you're coaching younger players, there is no hard and fast way to coach young players. They have preferred methods of learning, and the more keys, the more weapons you've got in your belt, then the more chance you've got of getting on the right wavelength with the players so that they can understand whatever messages you're trying to get across. They can understand them more quickly. So hopefully young players don't have to play 400 games before people say, well, he looks an experienced player, he makes good decisions. Hopefully the younger players will learn quickly, well enough equipped, and learn fast to get onto their wavelength.
Fantastic. Moving on to the next question, which comes from Mr. Benudar Das from the Samaj. What is it about Odisha FC, the club, that prompted you to join us? What attracted you to the project?
Well, obviously the first impression I get is when I was speaking to the owners, when I'm speaking to Rohan, I'm speaking to people within the club. Being Corona time, this is not where I can fly in and take a look and acquaint myself with everything. So this is a first up. It's that impression I got, and the impression I got there was ambition, it was desire, and it was something that is a little bit warm to my heart, because obviously I've been in South Africa and some of the places where social commitment and commitment to the youth of the area is paramount. So that came across as being a desire and ambition that is in the club, and they wanted whoever was going to be the new coach to embrace that. So that's one, and the other one was the help and support and the cooperation of the government. You know, I think that's also important. Many times in football, I feel that, you know, we go to people holding out a hand and saying, please help us. And we don't really ask ourselves the question, well, what can we actually do to deserve that help? And what is our role in this partnership? And I think those lines are pretty clear. You know, the government want to help, and the club wants to repay that by creating something that will be good for our supporters and everybody in Odisha.
Fantastic. Now, just alluding to one of the earlier points that I mentioned about, you know, the squad being very young, and the average age of Indian players is one of the lowest in the entire league, if not the lowest. The next question comes from Neil from Khel Now. Odisha FC have brought in a lot of domestic youngsters over the course of the summer. How crucial a part do you think these young boys will play in your plans?
The young players that we have brought in, it would be impossible for me to sit here and say, I know every one of those players and exactly what he's going to do and how his development is going to look. That would be That would be ridiculous. But what I can say is that there will be an emphasis on youth. There will be, it's my job to make sure that the culture of the club is based on development, coaching, team spirit, understanding your role, understanding your responsibilities to the club and to the state. So I think no matter how we spin it, the youth are going to play a very important role. And for us, it's vital that we make sure that we give those young players the best possible chance of being able to develop and to answer the call that we are making. Yeah. Yes, it will be important that we get some good experienced players in. They must have the right attitude. They must be able to give of themselves also. But the young players, I hope, will be looking at this as an opportunity for their own development, hand in hand with the development of the club.
Moving on to the next question, which comes from Sanjeev from Nitidin. Have you been following the Indian Super League before this? Have you sort of had an idea of the competition? And if so, what are your views about it?
I've been following the league in as much as I know a lot of people that have worked there. I know a lot of players that have played there. And it's a relatively new league, so there was a level of curiosity from my side as well. So to look at some of the games now and again, it's not been one that I've been following as closely as, let's say, La Liga or the Premier League, but it's certainly a league that I've been curious about, and I've watched the sort of progress and the changes that have been made. Very similar to when I was working in Japan. I went there in the very first year of the J League, and how the J League developed, and I think I was looking at the Indian League and trying to draw certain parallels. And so to answer his question is, yes, I have been curious, and yes, I have seen some parts of it, but obviously it's not been one that I've been following meticulously. Yes. I will be now.
Well, you won a title in the J League when you were there, so that bodes well for us in a way, if we are drawing.
I hope so.
So yeah, we hope that happens here as well. Moving on to the next question, which comes from Suresh from the Sambada. Have you set any targets for your first season in Indian football, or are you looking to take it one step at a time and see how and take it how it comes to you?
That's a good question. It's a good question, and the question is, should we set hard and fast targets? I think modern business would say yes. Yes, it would be. I think the project is about development, and I think our first target is we want development. We want development, and we want the result of that development to dictate how high we can pitch it. So if you're asking me as a professional, I would say I want to make the playoffs, definitely, because 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th is all the same, really. Yeah. You know, you want the playoffs. After that, let's see how far we can run it. But my experience is that I've been into situations like this where you've got a young squad and you don't expect, because people say, well, I mean, I think it's that famous quote about Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United, kids will win you nothing, and then they won the league. So I think it's sometimes you can put too much pressure on the young players and you do win nothing. And sometimes you can underestimate the power of willingness to learn, team spirit. Once that development starts taking place, it takes on its own life. And I think we should try to harness that and just see how far that will take us, knowing that if we do our job properly, then we do have a force there that maybe to be reckoned with. Yes. But at the same time, I don't want to make rash predictions because I haven't seen the group. I don't know their mental strength. I don't know, how they would react. So until then, I'll just say, as a professional, I want the best that we can do. And let's say that's top 4 to start with. and then I want to see exactly how the group react to how we work.
I think you put it very rightly, and also, if I may say so, on the part of the players, even when a new coach comes in, it's an opportunity for everybody to start afresh and show the new coach what they are made of. So it's a level down. So that also gets everybody very motivated to maybe give an extra 20 or 30% than they usually do.
Yeah, and I think it's the onus is on the coach as well, because I know a lot of coaches and good friends of mine, colleagues of mine, that go into a new setup, not even a new culture, but a new setup, maybe in the same country they're working, and they take their way of playing football and they impose it upon the squad. Many times the squad, it's not what they need, it's not what they want, and there's an acrimonious divorce. Now, I've always worked on, I need to be the coach that the squad needs, not the coach that I always want to be, no matter what the culture, no matter what the personality, no matter what the style. I impose myself. And now, I don't think that's right. I need to be the coach that this squad of players needs. And I think that's up to me to learn very quickly.
And that's a great segue into our next question, actually. The question comes from Soham from goal.com. Is there any expectation you have in terms of how your career at Odisha FC might shape up? And as you said, will you tweak your style of play according to the players that you have, or implement your style and mold the players accordingly? Which I think a part of it which you answered like before this.
Well, I think in principle, you can take every country in the world, you can take every team in the world, especially the successful ones, and you can say that the same things win games of football in India that they do in the Premier League. The same things. And we could do a little mini webinar on the critical phases of the game, but I won't bore everybody with that. But the same 6 things win the games of football. And those are principles. Let's call those are the supporting walls in this building. Now, whether you want to put a window there or a door there, paint that wall red or blue, that is about style. Whichever style, you have to achieve those 6 things. So I will be using those 6 things because that is what everybody will use. And then it will depend upon the players that we have. It'll depend on what suits them best, and it'll depend on my ability to communicate. Yeah. So those will vary, and hopefully players will learn quickly, I will learn quickly, we'll get on the same page, and then we will be able to do those 6 things, whichever style we decide will suit us best.
Now moving on to the Times of India, Saurabh from the Times of India. After your stint as head coach of the South African national team, I think it's a similar sort of question to one you answered earlier, but what made you choose Odisha FC? And for the past 3 seasons, the club was under Spanish coaches with a very distinct style and way of playing. Yeah. Do you think your philosophy can be a continuation of the process, or will you have something, again, it's repetitive in a way, but will you have something that's based on the group?
No, I think the fact that there's been Spanish coaches in before me will certainly give the squad a certain flavour. And I think I don't believe in this, breaking everything down and then rebuilding it, because there's obviously been some good work done. The players will want. I remember after I won the league in Stockholm, the coach came in afterwards and said, no, just because you won the league doesn't mean to say that everything's okay. So he broke everything down and they finished 8th. There's been good work done. I will retain that good work. And hopefully I will build upon it. And hopefully we'll find a way of playing that we both enjoy, and it will give us some results. Yeah. So I don't have expectations. Of the people I've spoken to said that Indian players are ambitious. They I had an interesting conversation with Faf du Plessis, the South African national team.
Yeah,
he said that Indian cricketers and in his experience, Indian sportsmen are fantastic when they're on the front foot. When they get on the back foot, they doubt themselves too much. He said if they didn't do that, he said they would be totally unplayable. So my job really, I believe, is to make sure that my Odisha players feel like mentally, in any case, they're on the front foot. And I think all of those things hopefully will go together into a style that that will bring together the work that's been done up until now, the new stuff that we want to do, and describe it in a way that the players feel, yeah, do that, let's get on the front foot.
Interesting that you mentioned Faf du Plessis, because India, as you know, is very big on cricket, right? Cricket, it's almost like a religion here. And Faf has, I'm sure, a lot of fans because he plays in the Indian Premier League also. So I think you've hit a right chord there. For a lot of people will like that reference. Now, moving on to the last bit, we have questions from the Indian Super League official website. What are your expectations and the possible challenges you foresee when you're coaching in India?
I think that's a very good question, because as soon as you walk into a different country, you walk into a different culture. And as I said, if you walk in and you impose your beliefs and your attitudes without considering the culture, then I think that you're doomed to failure eventually. The first thing I've got to understand is, how does the culture of the country affect the mentality of its sportsmen? That's why I have conversations with people in other sports to try to get a handle on that. And I think my expectations are that I will be listening and trying to pick up as much that will help me to get onto the right wavelength, speak a language that they understand, that presses the right buttons, and that describes what we want to do together. So my expectations are that that's going to be a process. That is not going to be something that will happen the first day I arrive. In the beginning, hopefully I can describe what we want to do in an inspiring way that will bring everybody together and on board until I've found all of those buttons and levers that I need to pull to actually start the development process. So that's how I see my initial time. And then after that, then it's about managing people, winning games of football, making tactical changes, and then it's normal coaching. But first of all, I've got to get on their page as much as they've got to get on my page.
We've had some Kaiser Chief fans write into us, very complimentary about your stint with them. And of course, one of the facts that they alluded to, they felt that you were an excellent motivator. And that's something they stressed on in all their messages to us. So I think coming from fans of a certain club you've worked on, I think it must be heartwarming to know they value your contributions so much to their cause.
That's nice. It's nice. I think, the South African supporters are very passionate. They're very passionate about the game. The Kaiser Chiefs fans, when I went there, they'd been 10 years in purgatory. They'd won nothing. So, and then a lot of trophies came in a short space of time, and I'm sure they had the bragging rights and they enjoyed that very, very much. So I'm not sure how much it was the fact that the coach was there or the fact that they just had the bragging rights. But no, I enjoyed my time there. It's always easy to enjoy your time with the club if you win it.
Moving on to the next question from the Indian Super League. Have you been able to maybe have a brief overview in terms of the players, the current Indian players in the squad, and do you have any thoughts on the current bunch?
Really, I think I've been trying to concentrate on our players and how they match up to the sort of level. I've not been delving into detail about the left back, the reserve left back in Chennai or something. I'm not. All the other players I will get to know, but my players, I wanted to know sort of where do they stack up. I think that the games that I've seen have been at a decent level. Some of the passages of play have been very good. As most leagues, especially most fledgling leagues in their development process. The constant conundrum is that how much do we rely on our foreigners? How many foreigners allow the Indian players to develop? and how many foreigners will suffocate that development.
Yeah.
I think at the moment, the league is wrestling with that a little bit. Do we have 5? Do we have 7? Can you put 4 on the field, or 2, or 1, or 9? It's like,
yeah.
I get the arguments, and that's where I am as well. I'm trying to work out in my own mind how we can empower our players maximum. I think the Indian players have potential, and now everybody in Indian football has to work out how can we maximise that potential.
Yeah. Now, coming to the last and final question, tell us what your conversations with the owners were like, and how did it, just from your perspective, how they went, just for people to know how you arrived at the job, and how was the entire process for you?
The process was cordial. I think I got a feeling right from the very first conversation that this was an ambitious club. I got the feeling right from the very start that this was one that felt that they were hand in hand with government. They were asking for support. They were receiving support, and that it was important for them that we didn't only take that support, that we felt that it was a partnership, and that we were prepared to give something back. And I think that means that we have to be conscious of that, moving it along, not just, well, we started with the support and we made a result and that was the payback. I think all the way through, we have to be conscious of our responsibilities in that respect. So that came across in the beginning. And then, of course, the ownership wants to know, well, what can the coach give us? What can he add to what we've got at the moment? I got that, and I think we weren't ever in any sort of, there was never any discrepancy with our way of thinking. Really, it's been cordial. It's been interesting. They were inquisitive about, I think, as I would have been if I'm the owner of a club hiring a foreign coach. How much will he embrace our culture and its effects on the game? And how much will he come in and be a dictator and stand there cracking a whip and just thinking the way he's done it all his life is the only way that he knows, and it's my way or the highway? So I think they wanted to know that. They wanted to understand my way of thinking about football. Is it, am I concerned at all about entertaining people, or is it just all about winning, the way we did in England in the early days of my career? And I think I put them at rest on that one, and I think they've done enough homework to know that I would like the people of Odisha to enjoy our football and then enjoy the results as well.
Well, thank you, Stuart. Fascinating insight. I think people will get a lot of. They'll get a lot of material from this, and I think they'll have much more clarity on where you're coming from, what your ambitions are, and they'll, I think, understand you now better as a coach and maybe a little more as a human being. Now that you've shed some light on all these things, thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch you soon. We're hoping to see you soon.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.